we have made of wire. This is a car. This is an automobile. That's a car. That's a car made of wire. And that's, here we have. Right over there. With the wind. This moves. And everything is, obviously was handmade. Then we have these, which are suitcases, simple suitcases, which is, again, poor people. Went to a fun fair once a year, presumably, and they took with them these suitcases. And the children are very old, looking at them. And what was this? All the jobs that were fashionable in those days. And so everything moves. Something that is, you close it up and then the man goes onto another fun fair. Like here we have it just. We have the rag dolls up here, which are all different. Nothing new, nothing. And also, these are skis. Certainly not very modern, but very functional. A piece of wood, bent, and then half a tin, or a piece of cord, and you slid from the hill. Then Ettore Guatelli was not only a very clever, very curious person, but in his old days, when he couldn't move much anymore, he actually went on to create something which was so simple and so grand, so wonderful in a way. He actually, it's enough to take a piece of wood, a nut or anything, anything else, and make something which has a meaning. So just piece of wood which you find anywhere, which you find outside your door, which you find in the country, and then you make something which has, here, children see a family. That's the father, the mother, and the baby. And see what you can make with just sticks. These are just sticks. With nuts or with a head. And they're wonderful things, because each one is different from the other. No one is alike. So we come into a kind of abstract art. It's what is so simple is to me the maximum of creation, the maximum of imagination. These are wonderful things. No one would say these are bones. These are bones which have been bleached and then put a wooden head on top. It's even a double-side head, depending on how you turn it. And that's obviously a train. A train with just tins, tuna tins. That's a choir with nuts, hazelnuts. That's another choir. That's a toothpaste tube, empty of course, and you can make something out of it. Or a shoe polish. Then we have another card here. The lamp, the light is made up with a candle. So it could be seen in the night. There are also little mice. Dried mice. Some are bigger, some are smaller. Why the mice? Well, they're part of the panorama anyway, of the countryside. And think that the big room was a granary for a long time. And mice are in the grain, they eat it. And children just collected them. Why not? I mean, it was part of the whole thing anyway. And these are the windmills. Ettore windmills. We had a temporary exhibition. So these are just a piece of wood. Bottle caps. Or nuts. Or little spoons somewhere. Anything would do, anything could do. One doesn't have to go very far to do things, to find toys, to be able to play. One is only to use his head, her head, and really put a lot of imagination in it. Now, you better prepare yourself. Have your eyes fully open, and we go into the big room. This is our ground saal. Have a look around, because really this is the spirit with which Guatelli collected his items and made up his museum. So again, there is no space empty, nothing is empty, nothing is free. Walls and meglio mi dimentico che ci sia come si chiama? La walls and ceiling. And again, one of the main principles of this museum is the series with which he actually put the objects together. There may be there's sickles and cutlery and rakes and plows and anything you can think of, and they're all in series, and the way they are disposed in geometrical forms, in a geometrical fashion, and this has been recognized by researchers, by university professors, as a new way of actually putting a museum together, of creating a museum. Guatelli himself was not, he actually didn't know much of museums and how to do them. He did it out of his head. He did it because he liked it this way and because he thought this was the right way. Why are there so many of the same kind? Why are there so many rakes? Why are there so many plows? Because each of them has been used. And I remember him saying that he actually, one of the best compliments he ever received was that he created something to remember his family. But not just his family was actually the people. His family represented the people that used the objects. They were so poor people that they would have disappeared from the earth and from the memory of everyone. But here they are. And so they, in a way, continue living in this, by having all this exhibited. So nothing is dead, really. No one is dead. Because the spirit, I may be a little poetic, but the spirit continues to live on. And as I said, this is a lot of dissertations have been done on this museum. Different types of different aspects. Graphic art. The graphic artists that come here are absolutely surprised because they see something new, something different. The way that it's really been done. If you look at the window, that window for instance, see how many different types of things there are, and the design. You actually get lost by looking at it. You don't know where to look because you're actually, in a way, surrounded by all these things. You're taken. Everything really, in a way, goes into you. It's alive. Something here really is alive. And that's what most people feel about it. Or one of the things, let's point out at some of the things. Like this one, this is the best sample. It's a goat skin. There are others, but not as well preserved. Goat skin, which used to be a container for wine or oil. And used to be on the shoulder and carried for miles and miles. And it was actually, the inside is actually the skin of the goat or the sheep. It was actually left in water until it lost that particular odor that it has. It was left in water for a few weeks, let's say. Then it was clean. It was all cleaned up, and then it became the inside. Very old flowers. These appear were thought and made for seasoning the cheese. And that tin, this other one, were actually put there in order to collect the whey. The cradles there. We don't need cradles anymore. We have babysitters nowadays. But in those days, parents that went to work didn't have no one at home. So maybe all the grandparents. And so they left the children, the babies, here. The cradle moved. The babies moved the beds, or there were wheels which they could actually move a little around. Little movement. These are the chairs you saw from the other side. These are lathes. The working wood and iron. That's a thresher. It's the mountain thresher. Used to be carried there, obviously very simple. There's a wheel here. Used to do the weighing like that. this was it's an interesting plate because it was found like this in a wood. There were normally people from Brescia came down when obviously they had not much to eat at home. So they came down with the family very often. They rented a bit of land with trees. They felled the trees and they actually made with the trees plates, wooden utensils, and then the women went to sell to the family, to the ones that had enough money to buy them. That's a double turn, imagining that is a branch of a tree. Just a few words about this, which is a skeleton of a goat. And the peculiarity of this is that it has a horn, which actually is around its jaw. And obviously it was born like this. It was born like this, and no one could do anything because it was so wide it could never be caught. And so in the end he died of hunger. He couldn't eat anymore. When the horn became so hard, obviously when he was an adult goat, his jaw was completely shut, completely closed up, and so he had to die. And he liked more his freedom than the fact of being able to eat. That's the story of that. There are a few things here, like a shell here, which was used as a means of communication. Now, it's got a hole on the other side as well. And the origin is certainly a sea origin. Presumably somebody from the country that went and was a sailor. And when he came back, he actually knew that by blowing into this shell, he could make noises. Let's say noises, but sounds. Sounds that people recognized. And so on these farms that were all spread on the hills, and they were very isolated, obviously. There was no telephone in those days. And so they could actually call one another, and they were able to tell by sounds that everyone recognized, able to tell the day, the date, the day, the hour, and the place where a feast was, where a ball was being held. And so people could actually be in the same place at the same time. Or it was used as a means of calling a doctor, or calling the farmer home, or anything of that sort. You know, it's like Indians with the smoke sounds. It's a wooden powder, which also warms. Wooden powder, it also worms make when they eat around the chairs. You find a little tiny strip of dust. And what's interesting about this is that it's a bit of a legend, but it could be a true story as well. That it was used as a powder for women, and there were no beauty products at all, and as a talcum for children, for babies.